Hi, this is Mark News from Plant Talk Radio. Thanks for subscribing and listening to our podcast, Your Gardening Questions from Plant Talk Radio. To help keep this podcast free, we're partnering with Stokes Seeds. Pre-plan your indoor seed starting program with the help of Stokes' 2017 Gardening Guide and their online articles. Whether you're adding texture through foliage, choosing a new variety for a splash of color, developing an existing garden, or starting from scratch, Stokes Seeds has some great catalog and online resources to help you through the process. Enjoy gardening tips and gardening trend forecasting from their garden writers and favorite chef. More than just a listing of vegetable and flower seeds, the Stokes Seeds website is a complete resource center with valuable information on seed starting, planting, harvesting, plus all the gardening accessories you need to make your garden the envy of the neighborhood. Get growing with Stokes. We'll have more to come from Stokes Seeds in the next few weeks. For now, today's gardening question. We touched a little bit upon last week, and I know you wanted to talk about a little bit this week, are the beautiful ornamental grasses. Yes. They've been doing their thing all winter long, but now it's sort of time to give them the haircut, right?
Well, it's coming toward time. Mark, I like to leave them up. I happen to enjoy the color of tan, brown sometimes, but tan to kind of a washed-out gray. Anywhere from, well, some few are no more than knee-high and less, and some are 10, 12 feet tall. They just make a winter scene that changes. Now, they're not the greens of summer. That part is gone with the first real heavy freeze in the fall. But their structure, their presence, the waving, this year not so much so above the snow, but above the brown earth and leaf clutter that we have on the ground sometimes, they're still attractive. The seed heads, or culm on each culm, as they are called, is there. Some have been, let's just say, riddled by birds a little heavy as they sit on up to eat the seed. They are forage for the birds in the wintertime. They are also just simply a nice adjustment to our annual situation. I would love to be a snowbird myself sometimes, I think, anyhow, but I would miss this kind of thing in the wintertime if I were way south. The grasses are different. Well, everything down there is different, and that's okay. A lot of people enjoy going from here to there. For those of us that have to stay here or choose to stay here, I think it's a wonderful thing to have things go from green to tan, from, well, let's just say really limber growth in the summertime to being a little bit more rigid occasionally. It's even a sign of the last snow. Now, we didn't get that this year, but some of the grasses can be broken over by snow weight, and they... Now, you may not agree with me on this, but beauty is in the eye of the beholder. A broken-over grass stem that was 6 feet tall is now 3 feet tall. Part of it splayed out on the ground. Still shows a change that I enjoy. Now, I'd rather they would stand, of course, but it's just, well, there's a way I'm jumping thoughts, but at the same trend into how to handle them. I like to leave them all winter long. Some people don't, and that's absolutely their choice, because once the top has been frozen, it's dead pretty nearly to the ground, if not into the ground. Then comes the chance to enjoy them as they stand brown or tan, and then there is a technique coming up starting any time now, but I still would be waiting almost a month on some of them, but being cautious to trim at the right time. And Mark enjoys a view every time he leaves the house in the daylight.
Yes. Yes.
Not his normal 4 a.m, but in any event, Mark explained that a little bit. You might be able to tell them as you see it.
Well, there's a park across the street from me, and the city has sort of decorated the front of it in a semicircle pattern, a very large semicircle pattern between sidewalks. And it's sort of a height thing. They put some annuals in the front, and then they have a band of grass, and then they have these ornamental grasses in a big semicircle, and then behind that they have taller shrubs. They have taller, I think it's burning bush, and behind that they have trees.
Wow!
So it's sort of a stair-step effect, and those grasses in the wintertime or with those tassels on the top, they're absolutely beautiful.
They are, and then it comes to this time of year. And as I say, you can wait a little longer yet, quite comfortably, but The main thing would be to get them trimmed down, cut off, if you will, before they start new growth. Grasses are quite different than the burning bush that you mentioned, Mark, because the burning bush could literally be trimmed any time and so on. But when you do a grass at the wrong time, it can kind of ruin its appearance.
Now, you do have a little trick, though, for keeping them upright.
Yes, I do. When we have the 3 steps in height and even more that you have spoken of, I would be prone to taking the shortest ones down the closest to the ground, and that still would be 2, maybe 3 inches above the ground. Then those that grow into waist high and to shoulder head height, I would trim off at about 5 or 6 inches above the ground. And then those those plants that get up into the 8-foot or more range, I leave more old stem at the bottom, because its presence up to, even on the tall ones, of 8 or even 10 inches, those stems were thicker. They are good support then for the brand new plant coming up. They'll tend to hold it together to a little greater height without splaying out so much. So you can alter. First of all, you should trim them all before they start to grow. But then you can alter the height from 3 inches to perhaps 10 inches above the ground to support the taller plants.
Hey, thanks again for listening to the podcast. Remember, you can pre-plan your indoor seed starting program with the help of Stokes Gardening Guide and their online articles. For the best selection of vegetable, flower, and herb seeds available, go to stokeseeds.com. Cultivating successful growers for generations.
Circle270media.com